Welcome back to another episode of Exponential Africa, where we are winding down from the Exponential Finance Summit, and it's been an incredible 2 days of networking, learning, and collaborating. We were lucky enough to be with the founder and CEO of Pagnatokarp, which is a transparent wealth advisor, which is over $4 billion of assets under advisement. Paul, thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
So tell us a little bit about how you started Pagnatokarp and a bit of your background.
You bet. Background is, I was that nerdy, geeky kid growing up. 7 years old, I got my first microscope. Went on to be a microbiologist and worked on a project for NASA to discover life and outer space. From all that, really began to have a passion to look at things differently through a different life and change careers to be in the wealth management industry. So I've been in this space now for about 26, 27 years.
Well, and over the last 26 years, you must have been through a lot of different eras. I mean, you were obviously involved in the crash.
It was a life-changing experience, the Great Recession. In the United States, 9 million people lost their jobs, 2.5 million people lost their businesses, 4 million people lost their homes. It was transformational and it was devastating. That led me to launch my own company. That led me to just move forward and fix the financial structural issues that existed.
And you talk a lot about transparency and the transparency wave that's coming in finance now. Do you want to tell us a bit about your view on transparency?
Yes. So this learning experience with the great financial recession that we had really led me to dig deep into transparency in all aspects of one's business and life. So the things that applied to me and my business and the wealth management apply to every single business, every single industry. If you study the companies that have grown exponentially and those that grew exponentially but then failed, that hit a wall, the difference is transparency. All the companies flourishing today have a culture of transparency. They all have a set of transparency standards. They're taking transparency to a whole new level.
You came up with this concept of the 6 T's. Do you want to tell us what they are and a little brief overview of what they mean?
You bet. As an entrepreneur, if you follow these 6 T's of transparency, you'll be assured that your business will be exponentially transparent. And when that happens, you have exponential growth. So the very first T stands for transparency standards. So you identify the issue at hand, the issue facing an industry, the issue facing a company, and you develop standards to avoid and eliminate that issue. Sometimes it's 3 to 5 standards. In the case of my business, it was 10 standards that we created. After you create the standards, then it's simplicity. You have to have a contract with a client. The terms of the client with the client need to be ridiculously simple. Uber is a fabulous example of that. They took the ride-sharing industry and made it so simple. 2 clicks away, you know exactly the terms and the contract for the driver who's going to be picking you up. The third T is cost. You need to have simplistic cost. Jeff Bezos of Amazon did this magnificently with the book industry, and then he's moved on to every other industry since then. But when you buy something on Amazon, you know exactly what the cost is. So transparent cost. Yeah. The fourth T is accountability. There needs to be total accountability. Patagonia is a wonderful example of this. Jovan, the founder, he didn't wait for the regulators to oversee his suppliers. He holds his suppliers accountable. So when you buy something from Patagonia, you know the suppliers are doing their job, you know the materials you're receiving, and you know the people who created those materials were treated properly and paid properly for their work. So that's the fourth T. Only 2 more T's left. The fifth T is truth. One needs to do what they say they're going to do. A beautiful example of that is the founder of Vanguard, Jack Bogle. He recognized early on that the mutual fund industry had some flaws. And a lot of the mutual funds weren't doing what they said they were going to do, and they weren't fully transparent. So he created the first ETF, exchange traded fund, which is now proliferated. Vanguard has over $5 trillion of assets.
Wow.
So that's the fifth T. And the last but not least is trust, right? Our brand and our culture, when someone buys our product, they need to trust it. John Mackey, founder of Whole Foods, which is one of the world's largest grocery store chains, are in 60 countries. He created GMO transparency. So when you go to a Whole Foods store, you know if the product's organic or inorganic. You know if you have GMO transparency or not. So last T is trust. You follow those 6 T's, you're going to be exponentially transparent.
There's many businesses that are out there that are talking this transparent, what do you think about Bridgewater and the way they talk about radical transparency?
So Ray Dalio is the founder of Bridgewater, one of the world's largest hedge funds, most successful hedge funds ever. And he has launched a book, and it talks about and focuses on radical transparency. So he has created a culture of radical transparency, and it proliferated now to, he's one of the wealthiest people in the world and the most successful hedge funds of all time. Transparency changes everything. Transparency is here now. Our society is not just expecting transparency of people and companies and governments. Society today is demanding it. Transparency is our future, and it's beautiful.
So that's all we have time for. It's been a great episode with Paul on Exponential Africa. Make sure to go out and get the Transparency Wave on Amazon and in the bookstores. And we'll see you on the next one. Subscribe and like. And keep smiling.